Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're plunging into something that affects, well, pretty much everyone. Money. It's one of the most universally misunderstood and, let's be honest, anxiety-producing parts of life.
Absolutely. We all wrestle with it.
Yeah, we chase it, thinking it'll bring security. But does it? Or does that chase actually make us more anxious? We look for happiness in having more, but maybe true joy, comes from a different place entirely, like letting go.
Right? These are huge questions.
Exactly. Everyone grapples with these fundamental things. How should we really think about money? What's its actual purpose? And maybe most importantly, how can we find some peace and wisdom in our financial decisions?
And these aren't just practical dollars and cents questions.
Not at all. They're profoundly spiritual, aren't they? They tie right into our deepest values, our relationships, even our sense of security.
It's deeply personal.
And it's absolutely fascinating how much the Bible actually talks about this. Over 2,350 verses mention money.
Yeah, that number's staggering.
It is. More than the verses about heaven and hell combined, apparently. And Jesus himself, he talked about money more than almost any other topic.
That's right. And for this particular deep dive, we're really focusing on what comes out of a comprehensive look at the whole Bible. Our mission today, based on all that, is to try and answer what might be the most intriguing question we all have. What is the most powerful thing to know about money from God's perspective?
Right, the core truth. And what we found, the central insight that really ties it all together is this. Money is a heart revealer and heart shaper in the context of life's temporary journey.
That's the essence of it.
Yeah, it sounds simple, but it combines two massive truths, doesn't it? First, that money is inherently temporary in our lives.
Fleeting.
And second, its incredible power to both show us what's really inside our hearts and to actively shape who we are, who we become.
It works both ways, reveals and shapes.
Exactly. And understanding this one insight, as we'll dig into, really can transform your whole relationship with money, moving it away from being a source of anxiety or maybe even greed.
Towards being a tool.
A tool for spiritual growth.
Yeah.
Yeah, for making an eternal impact. It feels like a path to genuine financial freedom, but through spiritual wisdom. Okay, let's unpack this.
Right. Where should we start?
So let's start with that first part, the temporary nature of money. The Bible is just crystal clear on this right from the get-go. Job, in that moment of incredible loss, he says.
Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. Powerful words.
So powerful. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised. It sets the stage.
And it's not just an isolated thought. It echoes throughout Scripture. Paul, in 1 Timothy, says it plainly. For we brought nothing into the world, and we can take nothing out of it.
Can't argue with that.
Nope. And Psalm 49 reminds us, he will take nothing with him when he dies. His splendor will not descend with him. Basically, it's the same pattern for everyone, isn't it?
Yeah.
We arrive with zero. Maybe we inherit something, maybe not. We earn, spend, save, manage money all through life.
And
then, at death, we leave it all behind. Every penny. It has to go somewhere else. It's just this unavoidable cycle.
It's such a stark reminder, isn't it? That money is just a temporary assignment, a stewardship while we're here.
Not permanent ownership.
Definitely not. And knowing that, really internalizing that temporary nature, it changes the whole game. It stops us from putting ultimate value on something that's, well, designed to be temporary.
Otherwise, you're building your hopes on shifting sand, financially speaking.
Exactly. You put your eternal hope in something fleeting.
Precisely. And it's within this context, this framework of temporary stewardship, that money performs its most powerful function.
Which is?
As that heart revealer and heart shaper, Jesus nailed it in Matthew 6. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. Our financial choices during this temporary journey, they don't just happen.
No, they're active indicators.
They actively expose our true spiritual condition. What we treasure financially shows our real values, not just the ones we talk about.
It cuts through the noise.
Totally. Think about it. How you handle money reveals your character, your trustworthiness. Your priorities with money show how much you actually trust God versus yourself.
Your generosity pattern.
Yeah, they reveal your love for others, your grasp of God's own character. It's like your bank statement is a kind of spiritual MRI.
That's a great analogy. It truly is. And maybe even more profoundly, money actively forms our character while we're here.
So it's not just reflecting, it's shaping.
Exactly. It's not just a mirror, it's also a mold. Where we consistently put our money, our heart literally follows.
Wow.
Financial habits don't just signal spiritual habits, they actually create them. They form these patterns that can last beyond our time on earth.
So our money decisions are actually training us.
In a way, yes. Training us in faithfulness or unfaithfulness, preparing us for potentially eternal responsibilities. Generosity, for instance, it's not just a single act. It develops godly character over time.
And the opposite.
Greed develops a selfish character, which the Bible warns has serious eternal consequences. It's fascinating. Every dollar spent, saved, or given isn't just a transaction.
It's like
a brushstroke on the canvas of our soul, shaping who we become.
So, okay, let's connect those dots. Why is this combined insight, money's temporary nature, plus its power to reveal and shape our hearts? Why is that the most powerful thing to understand?
Well, first, I think it gives us the right perspective. Knowing money is temporary stops us from making it ultimate, turning it into an idol.
Right, keeps it in its place.
But understanding its heart-shaping power stops us from treating it like it doesn't matter at all. It's this paradox. It's fleeting, yet it has eternal significance.
Temporary but weighty.
Exactly. And second, this combined insight acts like a sort of master key. It unlocks and explains all the other biblical principles about money. It's the underlying logic.
Ah, I see. Give me an example.
Okay, think about why Jesus said you can't serve both God and money.
Right.
It's because money, during our temporary journey, shapes the heart towards itself, pulling us away from God. That heart-shaping power is key.
Okay, that makes sense.
Or why is the love of money the root of all kinds of evil? Because that love relentlessly shapes our hearts away from eternal values, toward self-destruction.
That's the shaping again.
Always.
Yeah.
Why is giving blessed? Because it shapes our hearts toward generosity, toward an eternal perspective, aligning us more with God's own nature. Why does contentment matter so much?
To protect our hearts.
Exactly. To protect our hearts from money's corrupting, never-satisfied influence. And why is stewardship crucial? Because it acknowledges money is temporary, and we're accountable to God for how we use it while it's in our hands. It all just fits together, doesn't it?
It really does. It clicks. And this understanding, it must fundamentally change every single financial decision you make.
It has to. When you really grasp that money is temporary, but it's shaping your heart, every choice about spending, saving, giving it becomes a spiritual decision.
With eternal weight.
With eternal consequences, yeah.
So the question shifts, doesn't it? You stop just asking, can I afford this?
And you start asking.
You start asking, what will this financial decision do to my heart? How will it prepare me or not prepare me for eternity?
That's a huge shift.
It is. And that's where true financial freedom comes in, I think. Real freedom isn't just having a certain amount in the bank.
No, it's deeper.
It comes from understanding money is this temporary tool for heart formation, not the ultimate source of security. That perspective frees you from both the anxiety of maybe not having enough and also the subtle pride that can come with having a lot.
And ultimately, it reveals money's true, perhaps surprising purpose from God's perspective. He allows money to exist not primarily for economic systems necessarily, a training ground for eternal character development. Our temporary handling of earthly wealth isn't just about managing assets.
It's preparation.
It's preparation for much greater eternal responsibilities.
Wow. Okay, when you grasp that, your internal questions really do change. I mean, I'm just thinking now how profoundly this changes my own perspective on, say, my monthly budget.
How so?
Well, if every dollar really is a stewardship opportunity, then my bank account isn't just a number. It's more like a spiritual gymnasium.
Training ground, yeah.
So you start asking things like, okay, since I can't take this money with me, how can I use it right now to shape my heart more toward God?
Good question.
Or what eternal impact can this temporary resource actually have? How is this purchase, this investment, this donation preparing me for eternal life?
Yeah.
What kind of character is this specific choice developing in me?
See? It completely shifts the approach.
It really does. It transforms money from being this thing that causes anxiety or pride or obsession into a powerful tool for spiritual formation and eternal investment.
Exactly.
Okay, so given that profound insight that money reveals and shapes our hearts, it makes you wonder, how does God, the ultimate heart knower, actually see this powerful tool? His perspective must be different from ours.
Oh, it truly is. Profoundly different. For God, it seems money is first and foremost a test.
Test.
A test of character, and really our readiness for eternity. Jesus taught this in Luke 16. He said, "Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much.
Right, the faithfulness principle.
And whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much. So if you have not been trustworthy in handling worldly wealth, who will trust you with true riches?"
True riches, meaning...
Is money a little test? It's not because God needs to find out something he doesn't already know about us.
Ah, okay, so it's for us.
It's for our revelation. It's like a crucible that shows our true loyalties, not just to God, but even to ourselves. It shows us what we're really made of when the pressure's on financially.
That's fascinating. And what else? How else does God view it?
Well, crucially, God also sees money as a potential competitor, a rival deity almost.
Wow, strong words.
It's not neutral in its effect on our hearts. Think about what an idol is: anything we look to for security, identity, or purpose apart from God.
And money can easily become that.
Very easily. Jesus declared it point blank in Matthew 6. "No one can serve two masters. You cannot serve both God and money." The Bible even calls greed idolatry in Colossians.
Because it steps into God's place.
Precisely. It becomes the source of our hope, our meaning, our security.
Okay, so it's a test, it's a competing deity.
And tied to the revealing aspect we discussed, God views it as a powerful heart diagnostic tool.
The spiritual MRI again.
Exactly. Matthew 6.21 again. "Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." Our financial choices, spending, saving, giving, even our anxieties about money, they just unfailingly reveal our actual values, our priorities, our true spiritual state.
They're clear windows into the heart.
Very clear. God uses them to understand where we really stand. It's why Jesus talked about it so much. Not because he was, an economist.
Right. But because it's such a consistent, clear indicator of deeper spiritual realities.
And underpinning all of this is the idea of ownership. Right?
Absolutely crucial. God sees himself as the ultimate owner of all wealth. Psalm 24. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it.
Everything.
And Deuteronomy reminds us, it is he who gives you the ability to produce wealth. So if the earth and everything in it belongs to God,
then we're just holding it temporarily.
Our hands are simply holding his resources for a moment. And that truth, if we really let it sink in, should profoundly impact at least two things for us.
Okay, what are they?
Our anxiety because God, the owner, remains ultimately responsible for provision. And our generosity because, frankly, it's fundamentally easier to give away what isn't truly ours in the first place.
It reframes my money into God's resources entrusted to my care.
Perfectly put. God also sees money as a powerful tool, but for his purposes, for kingdom purposes.
Luke 16 again, Jesus says to use worldly wealth to gain friends for yourselves, so that when it is gone, you will be welcomed into eternal dwellings.
Ah, using temporary resources for eternal connections.
Exactly. It radically shifts our view. Money becomes not just a personal possession, but a strategic resource for eternal impact, building relationships, serving others, advancing the gospel. It's about sending it ahead, investing it in eternity now.
But there's a flip side, a warning.
A very strong, unmistakable warning. God views the love of money as spiritually destructive. Paul's words in 1 Timothy are stark. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil.
Not money itself, but the love of it.
Yes. Some people, eager for money, have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs. It's the idolatrous love, the eagerness for it, that poisons and ensnares us.
Okay. And what about how God measures wealth or giving? Is it just about the amount?
No, and this is revolutionary. God's economy isn't primarily about numbers. It seems to be about the heart, about sacrifice.
The widow's mite story comes to mind.
Exactly. Mark 12. Jesus points out this poor widow put in more than all the wealthy donors, even though she only gave 2 tiny coins. Why?
Because she gave everything she had, out of her poverty.
Right. It radically redefines wealth itself. In God's eyes, that widow was richer in that moment than the millionaire, not just sentimentally, but in actual spiritual impact. God measures giving by the sacrifice involved, not the size of the check, and by the heart condition, not the account balance.
That's a profound challenge to how we usually measure success, isn't it?
Completely flips the script.
And finally, does God have a view on, say, extreme wealth or extreme poverty?
Yes. It seems he sees both as potentially spiritually dangerous. There's that prayer in Proverbs 30, give me neither poverty nor riches, lest I be full and deny you, or lest I be poor and steal. The concern is that extreme wealth can lead to pride and forgetting God, while extreme poverty can lead to desperation and sin. The ideal isn't necessarily a specific amount, but maybe having enough to meet needs without the kind of excess that corrupts or the kind of desperate want that destroys. It's about protecting our spiritual health.
Wow, okay, so that's God's perspective. Money as a temporary test, a potential rival god, a heart diagnostic, all ultimately owned by him and meant for his kingdom purposes, with warnings about loving it and valuing sacrifice over amount.
That sums it up well.
So, if that's God's view, how do we, as humans trying to live faithfully in this world, actually translate that into how we think and act with our money day to day?
Well, it really has to start with fully accepting that core truth. Money is a temporary stewardship, not permanent ownership.
Back to Job and Paul, entering with nothing, leaving with nothing.
Exactly. Internalizing that makes all earthly wealth a temporary assignment. And like we said, that reality should ideally lessen our anxiety because our ultimate security is in God's ownership and provision, not our fluctuating bank balance.
And boost our generosity.
And naturally boost our generosity because we're managing someone else's resources.
And then building on that, recognizing it's fundamentally a hard issue.
Absolutely. Not just math. Every single financial choice reveals what we truly treasure deep down, and it also actively forms our hearts over time.
Right. And money itself,
Mm.
it seems like it has this built-in satisfaction deficit, doesn't it?
That's a great way to put it. You get more, you want more. It never quite delivers lasting satisfaction. And the powerful insight isn't just that money fails to satisfy. It actively creates a kind of spiritual hunger that only something beyond money can truly fill. It's like this perpetually moving finish line. Ecclesiastes 5 talks about this. Whoever loves money never has money enough.
So true satisfaction comes from somewhere else.
The Bible points towards godliness with contentment. That's the source of true gain, true satisfaction.
Okay. And we also touched on money being a test.
Yes, a test of spiritual maturity. Back to Luke 16, God uses how we handle this little thing called money as a testing ground.
To develop what?
Faithfulness, wisdom, trustworthiness, qualities needed for greater spiritual responsibilities, maybe even eternal ones. Our small financial faithfulness prepares us or proves us ready for potentially larger spiritual leadership roles.
Then there's that countercultural idea about giving.
Yes, the truth that generosity is actually more blessed than accumulation. Acts 20 quotes Jesus saying, "It is more blessed to give than to receive."
Which is the opposite of worldly thinking.
Completely. It's not just a nice sentiment. The Bible presents it as a spiritual reality. It encourages sacrificial giving, which brings a unique kind of joy and significantly builds treasures in heaven.
It really cuts through that whole keeping up with the Joneses mentality too, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, if we come in naked and leave naked, who exactly are we trying to impress with all the accumulation in between? It seems kind of pointless from that perspective.
That's a very sharp point. And connecting this to the bigger picture, money should always serve kingdom purposes,
Wow.
meaning using it strategically for internal impact, not just for our own comfort or status. Investing in things that last forever, people, relationships, spiritual growth, the work of the gospel, that creates an impact that money by itself could never buy.
And we should be mindful of the extremes.
Right. Remembering that both poverty and riches can be spiritually dangerous. The biblical ideal we saw in Proverbs isn't about a specific dollar amount, maybe, but about having enough for our needs without the kind of excess that corrupts us or the kind of desperate lack that destroys integrity. Yeah. It's about finding that spiritually healthy balance.
Which requires trust.
Exactly, which raises that critical question.
No.
Do our financial habits, our anxieties, or peace around money reveal whether we truly trust God or are we ultimately relying on ourselves?
Because financial anxiety often comes from
a lack of confidence in God's promise to provide, whereas genuine financial peace often demonstrates a deep trust in his faithfulness. The promise is there, seek his kingdom first, and he'll take care of the needs.
Thinking about it this way turns money into worship.
Potentially, yes. Every financial decision can become an act of worship, either to God through faithful stewardship, wise management, generous giving, or, sadly, to the idol of materialism through selfish accumulation and greed.
So generous giving isn't just charity.
It's an expression of worship. It acknowledges God as the owner, expresses our gratitude for his provision, and aligns our hearts with his generous nature.
And all this really demands an eternal perspective, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Maintaining an eternal perspective on these temporary resources, using earthly wealth to create eternal impact, storing up treasures in heaven, as Jesus put it.
Through giving and kingdom investment now.
Right. Understanding we cannot take money with us should logically inspire us to send it ahead by investing it wisely in God's eternal kingdom now.
Okay, now let's get practical about the complexities.
Yeah.
We do need money to survive, to thrive in this world. It's a reality. What does the Bible actually say about the idea of getting rich? Is it okay? Is it wrong?
It's definitely nuanced. There are very clear warnings against pursuing riches when it's driven by just a selfish desire for wealth itself as the main goal in life.
Like Proverbs says, do not wear yourself out to get rich.
Exactly. Proverbs 23. Do not wear yourself out to get rich. Have the wisdom to show restraint. That kind of consuming desire, the Bible warns, leads to temptation, traps, and ultimately spiritual ruin.
Are there examples of godly people who are wealthy?
Oh, absolutely. Many. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Job before his trials. Even David and Solomon were incredibly wealthy. The key distinction isn't the wealth itself, but the motivation behind it and the methods used to get it.
So godly wealth accumulation looks like what?
It seems to come through things like diligent work, applying wisdom, receiving God's blessing, and then it's used responsibly for provision, for generosity, without ever becoming an idol in the heart.
And ungodly wealth pursuit.
That's driven by greed, maybe dishonesty, exploitation. Wealth becomes the primary focus, the source of security, and that path ultimately leads to spiritual destruction, according to Scripture.
So again, it's not about the amount on the statement.
Not primarily, it's about the heart behind it and what you do with it. That really flips the script on how society often measures success, doesn't it?
It forces you to ask, yeah, what ledger are we really operating on? An earthly one or an eternal one?
And it's important to add, the Bible strongly emphasizes personal responsibility and the value of work, too.
Right. If a man will not work, he shall not eat.
Exactly. That's 2 Thessalonians. We're absolutely expected to work diligently, provide for our families. That's part of godly living.
So how does this apply to our complex modern financial lives? The Bible doesn't mention mortgages or 401ks.
No, but it gives principles. Legitimate financial goals based on these principles would include things like providing for your family's needs, saving wisely for the future, for emergencies, being generous stewards, building reasonable stability.
And questionable motivations.
Those would involve pursuing wealth just for status, or hoarding it out of fear, or being driven purely by greed, or, crucially, seeking your ultimate security in money rather than trusting God.
And God can bless people with wealth.
Yes, the potential is there. Deuteronomy 8 says he gives us the ability to produce wealth. It can be a blessing.
But with blessing comes
Responsibility. Luke 12 reminds us, from everyone who has been given much, much will be demanded. Greater wealth brings greater responsibility for stewardship and generosity. It's not just for personal enjoyment.
So are there practical guidelines then for pursuing financial success in a way that aligns with this biblical view?
I think we can distill some. It requires the right motivation, aiming to provide, to serve, to be generous, not just accumulate. It requires the right methods, diligence, honesty, integrity in your work. It requires the right attitude, maintaining gratitude, humility, holding wealth loosely, remembering it's temporary. And critically, the right use, providing for family, yes, but also giving generously and investing in things with eternal value. The biblical model isn't just about getting, it's often about having enough for needs, plus a surplus for generosity. 2 Corinthians 9 hints at this idea of God providing enough to abound in good works.
So bottom line on getting rich,
Yeah.
it's not inherently good or bad.
Exactly. It depends entirely on the why, your motivation, the how, your methods, the what you do with it, and the where you ultimately place your security and trust.
It's about pursuing financial success as a means to a higher end, serving God, serving others, not as the end goal itself.
Well said. That's the heart of it.
Okay, so after digging into all of this, what are the key takeaways? If someone were to ask her the blinkist version for today.
Okay, let's try it. First, I'd say treat money as a spiritual discipline. View every financial decision, budgeting, spending, saving, giving, as a spiritual practice. Use money management intentionally for character development. Use budgeting for spiritual formation. Use giving as an act of worship.
Got it. Money is spiritual discipline. What's second?
Second, your money reveals your real theology.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah. What you actually spend your money on shows what you truly believe about God, about life's purpose, about your core values, far more accurately than just what you say you believe. Your financial priorities are your practice theology.
Wow. Okay. Third.
Third takeaway, financial freedom is actually heart freedom.
not just account freedom.
Right. True freedom comes from contentment, from having the right perspective we talked about, not just from accumulating a certain amount. It means money serves you and God's purposes rather than you being controlled by money. It's about liberating your heart from its power.
Makes sense. Fourth,
Fourth, every financial decision shapes your character. It's not neutral.
the mirror and the mold.
Exactly. Generous choices actively develop a generous character over time. Greedy or fearful choices develop selfish or anxious character traits. Every choice is moving you incrementally toward or away from godliness.
Okay, powerful. And fifth,
And fifth, remember, money is a tool for kingdom impact. It's a temporary resource meant to be used strategically for eternal purposes.
the sending it ahead.
Sending it ahead, investing in relationships, in people's spiritual growth, in God's work in the world. You are literally, according to Jesus, building treasures in heaven through your wise and generous earthly giving.
Those are 5 really solid takeaways.
Hopefully helpful.
So we've covered a lot of ground today, haven't we? Circling back to that central finding, money serves as both a heart revealer and a heart shaper, all within the context of our temporary journey here on earth.
That's the core insight.
And it rests on that undeniable truth. We enter this world with nothing, and we absolutely leave everything behind. Job knew it, Paul taught it, the Psalms echo it. It's just reality.
And just to synthesize some of the nuances we explored, it's crucial to remember money itself isn't evil.
Right.
Rather, as 1 Timothy puts it, the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. That distinction is vital. Wealth isn't forbidden, but making the pursuit of riches your life's primary all-consuming goal, that's where Proverbs warns of spiritual ruin.
And financial success isn't wrong in itself.
No, but finding your ultimate security in that success, in the money itself, rather than in God, that's a recipe for anxiety and ultimately spiritual poverty, regardless of your bank balance.
So the path forward, the one offered by this biblical wisdom, it really aims to move you from that place of anxiety to one of genuine peace.
From greed to generosity.
From frantic accumulation to maybe joyful stewardship. It encourages us first to really acknowledge God's ownership of everything, like Psalm 24 says. He gives the ability to produce wealth, as Deuteronomy reminds us.
So we manage it as faithful stewards of his provision.
Exactly. And it means using our financial decisions intentionally to shape our hearts toward God, remembering where your treasure is, there your heart will be also.
Practicing generous giving not just as a duty, but as an act of worship, an act of character formation like Paul encourages in 2 Corinthians, and like Jesus highlighted with the widow.
And seeking contentment, that godliness with contentment, over just relentless accumulation, making financial choices prayerfully, purposefully.
And always looking for ways to strategically invest in eternal things, people. The kingdom, using these temporary earthly resources, just as Jesus powerfully encouraged in Matthew and Luke.
So the ultimate goal then, it isn't necessarily extreme poverty, nor is it extreme wealth for its own sake.
No, it seems the goal is faithful stewardship. Stewardship that genuinely honors God, serves other people, and actually prepares us for whatever eternal responsibilities lie ahead.
And when we understand and apply it that way,
money truly becomes a tool for our spiritual formation, rather than a source of potential spiritual destruction. And that leads to genuine financial peace and a life lived with deep purpose.
So the final thought to leave everyone with, perhaps it's this: what does all this mean for you right now? Just remember, based on everything we've discussed, every financial decision you make is a spiritual decision. Every dollar you handle is a stewardship opportunity. And every act of generosity, big or small, is a profound step toward the very heart of God.